The Race and Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.
Hello there, welcome along to the Racing Post Weekend Review Postcast with me, Bruce Millington, him, Nick Watts. Over in Ireland, we've got Brennan Duke, and we've also got over in Ireland from Paddy Power, Tom Nugent. We're going to be looking back on the action at Warwick, Kempton and Fairyhouse. We're going to be looking ahead to various Cheltenham races. Also this weekend, the Clarence House is the big event, and we'll generally chew the fat on all the big issues. Nick, how was punting over the weekend?
Bruce, you don't want to know what I was doing over the weekend.
Well, last weekend you were shooting animals, weren't you? What were you doing this weekend?
Well, as you know, Saturday afternoon should all be about racing, should be about football. The wife should be off shopping, or, you give her a tenner and give it so she can have a hairdo or whatever. But
a tenner?
Okay, 20. But no, I was dragged along to a raw food cookery course in the middle of Saturday afternoon. So can you imagine that?
By the wife?
Yes. Yeah,
Did you know this sort of thing was going to happen after the wedding beforehand, or is this all barrel of bad surprises? It's
all still a little bit of a shock to me, to the system, to be honest, and I've got to get some kind of equilibrium going where Saturday afternoons are kind of,
When you say raw food cooking course, all food is raw before you cook it, so I don't quite get that.
Yeah, maybe I've misnamed it, but it was all what the wonders you can do with raw food and how good it is for you and all that kind of stuff. So it was vaguely interesting, but I'd rather have been watching Warwick and Kempton.
Did you bet?
I didn't know, purely because I wasn't there to watch it. So I was done for.
Brendan, are you in hot punting form?
No, certainly not. I got quite a reverse ACCA achievement on Saturday afternoon. I backed 10 horses and they all got beat.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Now, luckily, good old Dazakam came to the rescue in Wolver on Saturday evening, but you're getting down and dirty with that stuff. But Sunday wasn't great either. So a losing weekend, but we move on.
Okay, we'll move on to Tom. How was your punting, Tom? I know you weren't drinking on Sunday, were you?
Well, I wasn't drinking on Sunday, but unfortunately I made up for it on Friday night, and I was curled up in a ball on my couch on Saturday. But I was lucky enough to back one winner and one loser, so you're about right. Made a few bob. Yeah, okay, I won't complain.
Chaps. Jolly good. Well, let's dissect the racing. Let's start with the Grand National. Picture after One for Arthur won the big race at Warwick. He looked okay. He sort of enters the fringes of the race, Nick, doesn't he?
I liked him. I was really impressed with him. I caught up with the race since and I watched it. And, it was a good effort because he's really badly hampered at the second and put him behind. And Warwick's one of those rhythm tracks where the fences come really thick and fast. It would have been easy for him to lose a bit of heart over that and tail himself off. But he worked himself into the race. I thought the jockey was really good, very patient on him. Finished really, really strongly. So he's obviously a thorough stayer. And was backing up a good run the time before when he finished a really close fifth in the Beecher Chase behind some really good entry horses like the Last Samurai, Vieux Leon Rouge. So
sounds like a decent entry profile to me.
I definitely would have him in the mix. I think that would put him up. By winning that race, he should get into it for a start, so he should be in the 40. It's the plan to go for it. He's a sound jumper. He's been around Aintree before. He's still a young horse that's on the up, and it never gets too quick at Aintree these days. They can't allow it to get too quick, so I don't think the ground's an issue for him. He ticks an awful lot of boxes.
So you'd very much have him on the radar?
I certainly would. It's about time Scotland got involved in the National, isn't it? I think it was Rubstick was the last one in 79, so there's certainly due one. And like I said, there's something about him that I really liked at the weekend.
We could have Scottish National Party as the headline if he won, couldn't we? Like that, anyone?
Yeah, seems solid to me.
Thought I'd get a bit more love for that. Tom Nugent, if you wanted to back One for Arthur for the Grand National, what price would you get with Paddy Power?
Yeah, he's 33 to 1 now from 40s after that.
Give us a blast of the front runners.
Yeah, so at the top of it's Manny Clouds 14s, The Last Samurai and Don Polly alongside Carlingford Lock at 16 to 1, Vieux Leon Rouge and Native River at 20s, 25 to 1. Then you have Noble Endeavour, The Young Master, and Empire of Dirt, and it's 33 to 1 bar.
And Tom, we'll stick with you. If you're having a bet on the Nash at this juncture, who would you back?
Well, I've been banging on all year about Uccello Conti, but he kind of broke my heart a little bit in the Paddy Power. Wouldn't mind if Empire Dirt got lobbed into this now. He's off 160 over fences, but could be a horse that I'd back at 25 to 1 if I was to get a little bit more confirmation that he might show up in a race like this.
I just love the name. I think Empire of Dirt sounds like a Grand National winner. Who's your idea of the national winner at this point, Brennan Duke?
Well, it was just interesting when Nick said about one for Arthur that he's just going to scrape into the 140s and what have you, because the National is trending now towards a classier type of horse because of the way they do the weights, etc. So I was thinking maybe Manila Rocco. Now, obviously, he didn't jump brilliant in Cheltenham. He fell the last day in Aintree, so that's got to be a worry. But he came alive in the spring last season, and he'd be the one I'd have in my mind. He is a very talented horse, and he could have even have a Gold Cup prep, which isn't the worst prep in the world for a national.
And don't forget, these fences are basically just a load of discarded Christmas trees piled up, aren't they? They don't take a lot of jumping anymore, do they?
Yeah, you still see plenty of fallers, though, don't you? Know, I
That's
know
down to the pace, isn't it?
Well, the pace and landing steeply as much as anything, but it's still it could be a bit tricky for the old Rocco, but he'd be the one I'd have my eye on at the moment.
What price can Brendan get the Rocco if he went back to pillage his old employers?
Manila Rocco is now 33 to 1. They're ripe for the picking, Brendan.
No, yeah. I might nip around the shops. Okay.
What's he? The national winner is?
I got out the classy ones. I think Native River. He did Cheltenham and Aintree last season, didn't he? Second at Cheltenham, then he won really nicely at Aintree. So I don't think the togetherness of the two festivals will bother him. And he's the one you could really see loving it around there, getting in a really good rhythm going from the front. If it was a really grim day as it was last year, weather-wise, there's a real old Irish chaser called Maggio who I'd be interested in, who won on the undercard to the Grand National last season. He won the 3 mile handicap chase. He's any price, and he's 12 years old, but I don't mind old horses around Aintree these days, so he'd be an interesting one if the weather was really grim.
No one's mentioned the old Don Slowly yet, have they?
Oh, well, he's a good profile for it as well. I mean, he's done slowly in a Cheltenham Gold Cup, but he'd be quick enough for a national, wouldn't he? He's a sound jumper. Yeah, no, I like him. I like him as the class angle. He'd probably be my second choice.
Good run the other day. Okay, if you listened to Friday's podcast, you'd have heard the most unconvincing way of getting tips over ever by Graham Rodway. He was more Graham Plodway than Graham Rodway. You couldn't get anything. You couldn't get a tune out of him. Every race was, it's really difficult. I don't know about that. And it was like, rather than the tips, you had the yips. It was a real strange performance. But of course, lo and behold, they all won. Everything we could finally cajole out of him crossed the line in front. One of which was American, who won at Warwick. And what did you make of American? Can he make an impression in the RSA, do you think, Nick Watts?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, yeah, he won nicely, but it's the trainer comments after the race. He's an out-and-out galloper. He could be a Welsh national horse for next season. You don't traditionally think of those as being RSA winners. It's more kind of a novice championship with next year's kind of Gold Cup in mind. So if it was a really wet and horrible Cheltenham, then possibly. But just on a wider point about the RSA, this is an interesting market because Bellshill is the favourite for it, and he's looked really good in his chases in Ireland. But he's been to the Cheltenham Festival twice, and he's been terrible both times. So he really could be one to take on. And if he is, then there is a lot of value out there, but I'm not sure it's provided by American.
Well, who is it provided by? Come on, Nick.
Well, I did the race for the RFO today, and All Petit Soin, I think, is quite interesting. He hasn't really been brilliant over fences so far. He just scraped home at Kelso last time, but there's an awful lot more to come from him. He's a previous Cheltenham Festival winner. He ran well in the World Hurdle for a long way last season. He could be a lot better, I think, than he's shown.
Okay, Tom Nugent gives a blast of RSA, including Au Petit Soin.
Yeah, so it's Bellshill at the top 4 to 1. Our Duke then 8s, Might Bite 10s, Coney Island 12 to 1, American 14s, Disco 16s to 1, and then there's a whole load of 20s, including Alpha de Zobo, Bleu et Rouge, Barney Douane, Haymount, Calais Mad, and then it's 25 to 1 Au Petit Soin.
Oh, let's ask our Duke what he fancies. Brendan.
Yeah, well, it's a murky old picture, isn't it? Just as Tom was saying, the betting, it's so open. I was very impressed with American, and I think if I thought he was going to run, he'd be the horse I'd back in the RSA. It was just an exceptional round of jumping, and I think it's possible even that Noel got a bit carried away and committed for home too soon. I think he was even value for more than the winning margin. I understand why he did it, because he was just jumping them into submission. But the boy Fry is a real Goldilocks trainer, and when he starts talking about it has to be this and it has to be that, I don't think he's going to run in the race. So for that reason, I'd leave him alone.
Fair enough. It's funny, Brendan, you're talking about races not taking shape. There's a lot of those this year, isn't there? We were talking last week about the Supreme and the Neptune as well. I mean, they're kind of stagnant, aren't they? You normally expect a few eye catchers to come along every week and create some ripples in the market. It's not happening, is it? Very peculiar this year, isn't it?
Well, I like it though. It's just different. We've been spoiled the last couple of years with these Mullins machines, and they dominate from very early. You know they're going to be heavy favourites on the day. So I mean, there's definitely some value out there in the races.
Okay. Anything else from Warwick? I suppose will he be caught now after his performance? You could ask, will he be caught in the Albert Bartlett? Couldn't you, Nick?
Yeah,
I like it.
I think he's a contender for the longer race. Definitely, yeah. He's another one of those. I think he's a very strong stayer. He's related to an Ida winner, I think. So, don't think the trip will be any problem for him. And I think we were discussing on the Postcast last week, weren't we, about what an attritional race the Albert Bartlett is. It should really suit him. So I could see him going very well in that.
What price is he, Tom?
He's 12-1 from 33s for the Albert Bartlett.
Remind me who dominates the Albert Bartlett.
It's
front
9-4 Death Duty, and then it's 10-1 Bar. Then Bacardi's at 10s alongside Augusta Kate, and Willoughby Court is next in at 12s with Penn Hill.
Brendan, do you have an opinion on the Albert Bartlett at this point?
Oh yeah, attritional is one word. It's just a vicious race. I don't think there is an Albert Bartlett horse, to be honest with you. It's such a tough race, and I'm not sure this Willoughby Court knows enough either. I don't think he's battle hardened enough, but he is a talented horse. I thought the Peregrine Run, given it travelled really well and has the Cheltenham form, it needs better ground, but I thought it showed plenty of heart to go as well as it did for as long as it did behind Willoughby Court. I didn't think that did any harm to its Albert Bartlett claims at the weekend.
OK, let's sweep up any other points of interest from Saturday, Kempton, Warwick, or wherever else that anyone thinks they want to chuck into the mix that might be useful for punters, possibly by way of fuelling their horse trackers. Tom Nugent, you got anything for us?
We discussed them a couple of weeks ago. Any second now won the Moscow Flyer over in Ireland. I thought he did it well. You could argue now that Crack Mom and Run for Dave landed a bit flat after jumping the last, but I think this horse now could feature. The way he galloped to the line, you wouldn't mind sticking him in the Neptune, but he'll probably try and avoid Finian's Oscar, so it looks like the Supreme would probably be more likely for him. So I wouldn't mind him at all. I think he should be about 16-1 at the moment. And the other, I thought Ed Wolf was very good in the Beginner's Chase on Saturday as well. So there's two to stick in for you.
Okay, Brendan, what caught your eagle eye?
Well, any second now. Paddy Power are only short of building a shrine to this horse at this stage, Tom, are they? Goes in at 700-1 the first day in those silks. I mean, just an incredible thing. And then Crack Mome off the boards and chins him as well. I'm not sure he'd go to Cheltenham now. He's a big rig, and I think they might take their time with him. He's a chasing type, but he's just a very interesting horse. I loved Alan Sweetman's preview actually. He said something along the lines of evidently more forward than expected by connections on debut. He's a master of understatement.
The book of euphemisms, yeah. Were you trying to do an Alan Sweetman impression there?
Oh no! I don't think I've ever heard him speak. I've read a lot of his work.
Oh, he's got a beautiful speaking voice. Actually.
Does he?
And without trying to make out I'm trying to hit on you or anything, Brendan. A bit like yourself, one of those classic, beautiful Irish accents. He have you ever heard Alan Sweetman talk?
I have, Nick Watts? No, I know what you mean. Yeah,
he's got a lovely voice, hasn't he?
Nice
I think he used to be a school teacher once, and if he was my school teacher, I'd sit up and take notice. Yeah, he almost sings when he speaks. You know, Brendan, your eye catchers. Or did you just give?
My eye catcher was none other than Viva Steve, who was well beaten. I think he was about 10th in the end in that chase in Warwick. But I like him for that Bet Bright chase, the old Racing Post chase. That's the middle of February, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he ran in it last year and he finished 6th. But he seems to have improved. I think he's improved anyway for Fergal O'Brien, and he jumped really well. Now, he's inclined to be a bit keen, which isn't ideal, but he's a really good jumper, really strong traveller, up in the van, the ideal type for that race, and you might get a price because he was so well beaten at the weekend. So he'll be one I'll have my eye on for the old Bet Bright.
I think we stopped sponsoring that race 5 years ago, and that's the first time anyone's ever actually referred to it by their correct name, so... Well done, you. Nick Watts, who are the Watts eye catchers?
I thought Old Guard in the Lanzarote was quite interesting. He ran a good race. He finished fourth, staying on really nicely. I don't think he's any back number yet. He might go down a few pounds in the handicap, and he might be interesting if he rocked up in something like the Coral Cup in a few months' time. So Old Guard for me.
OK, let's look at Sunday's action.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav in all races at one meeting today. And at one meeting every day this month. Max £25 per race, not available in shops. 18 plus, gambleaware.co.uk.
Brendan, before we look back on what we saw at Fairy House on Sunday, let's have a quick update on the old love life. Now, 2 Fridays ago, you were teeing up a date which was taking place at a very swanky eatery with a girl who was a chef.
Yes.
How did that go?
Charming girl. Well, I was more charmed than she was, I'm afraid, Bruce. I'm afraid.
Same old. Same old.
Same old. It is really. I'm starting to think it could be me.
Is there any area where she kind of you felt that you'd fallen foul? Did she give you any feedback, or was it just sorry, love?
No, I don't ask them for feedback. That's not fair, because that's like, it's not an interview. Well, it kind of is an interview, but I don't think it's fair to ask for feedback. So she just left it to say, it was nice to meet you, but
I hear there was one pleasant moment in the evening, wasn't there, when the proprietor turned up, didn't he?
Good eggery. I mean, I can't even impress them when I make like a celebrity. The guy has sent over 2 glasses of champagne and said thanks for the shout out.
What, on the podcast?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely savage. And I've managed to deal with this. I think I could make a good celebrity. I was there. Oh, not this again. Hamming it up. And still that didn't impress her. But anyway, I would recommend the old beef and lobster to anyone, because the manager will certainly look after it. Well, he looks after me, so I suppose I should recommend it.
Did you go straight back on the bike last weekend, or have you given it a little break just to regather after that setback?
Little break. I'm currently chirping a girl who's involved in a cancer charity, so that's going well at the moment. So I think I might be seeing her a little bit of a cheeky midweek action. So we live in hope. Was that
after an encounter on the street where she came up to you with a clipboard and tried to get you to sign up to a monthly direct debit?
No. I haven't. I haven't started flirting with sugars yet, but it's only a matter of time.
James Pyman, the well-known Racing Post analyst, met his wife through that very means.
I'd say that. Well, I have heard James Pyman speak. He was on with that mentalist fella, and he has a very rich, deep voice. So I can
Which
see
mentalist fella?
Darren Brown.
That's right. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I've forgotten about that.
Oh, yeah. So he has a lovely. I think they call it in broadcasting. They call it a third ball. When you have that like Fraser, that really deep. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, who was at Fairy House yesterday? You obviously weren't, Nick. Were either of you two at Fairy House?
I was.
Excellent. What did you make of it? What was your headline takeout? Should we start with Bull Dark?
Yes, we probably should start with Ball Dark, because I was talking to Jack before the show, and he was saying, I was very impressed with Ball Dark, and I was saying, I was kind of impressed, and I think I did him a bit of a disservice, because he has beaten Pair of Brown Eyes, a very solid stick, by 9 lengths. And he's only just turned 7, as Jack was saying, so he could just be an improving horse. Like, he'd been beaten a lot in the run up to the race, but he might just be a horse who's starting to take off, and you couldn't but be impressed. 9 lengths is a very impressive win.
We should clarify that's Jack the producer, not Jack Kennedy, by the way, just in case anyone thinks how well connected Brendan is. What has Bull Dark done by way of rippling the betting market? I suppose the Grand Annual is the focus of attention, Tom, isn't it?
Yeah, 16-1 from 25s now, joint favourite with Vanuatu, so that'll give you an insight into the market. At 16-1 the field. Dandridge, Rock the World, East Lake, Don't Touch It, Ordinary World, all at 20s, and it's 25-1 bar those.
Have you had your eye on the Grand Annual yet, Nick, or is that one of those ones you're allowed to formulate a little bit?
No, it's funny you say that. I think I've got one for it now.
Brilliant.
I don't think it's even quoted at the moment, but Roman de Saint-Am, you might remember him, he almost won the Fred Winter last season. He's Nichols' second string, almost got up and beat Diego de Charmel, finished really well. He's gone over fences, finished second to Top Notch on his debut, good form. Third at Newbury last time in another good novice chase. One of Oliver Sherwood's won it, I can't quite remember the name of. So 2 runs over fences, he's looking good, the jumping's going well. He's not going to be top notch over fences, he's not going to be going for the Arkles or anything like that. So I imagine handicap options the way he's going to go. Big field, good ground in the spring. brought about a big improvement last season, could do again this year. So
Give us the name again, and we'll see if Tom's got him quoted.
Roman de Senem.
No, unfortunately not. Can't spot him here anyway.
Blimey. So there you go, folks. You might want to do a bit of ferreting about and see if you can get a price for that one. Good stuff. Anything else catch your eye on Sunday? Nick, did you see anything on Sunday?
Only the ride given by the
novice,
rider
the
in the
Hunter
Kelso
Chase.
race.
I was going to mention that.
Unbelievable.
I backed it.
Well, it was our napping the Racing Post Naps competition
my
yesterday,
goodness.
and I couldn't quite work out what was going on. If he
Donatulo we're talking about, in case you didn't see it. It was absolutely phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, he held him up a long way off, and you thought, well, is he just struggling here fitness-wise? Because the jockey looked tired before the horse did, and then the two in front are kind of stopped, and you think he's going to do this, but he goes up a blind alley on the inside.
Well, I'm not sure it was a blind alley. I think he made it a blind alley by suddenly not fancying it. And so he's pulled it out and got his head down and kind of thrust his arms forward a bit and then mistaken the winning post for something. I'm not sure.
Took an age to switch around as well. Took so long doing it.
I don't think he would have won, though. And I did back him. I don't think he would have won.
No, I don't think he would have done. I think he may have done if he hadn't gone up the inside originally, but once he'd done that and pulled around, there just wasn't enough time. But yeah, it was an extraordinary ride. Did
any of you two see that? It was absolutely phenomenal. It was. You should definitely
think
watch
I saw a replay last night. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And of course, Tom, there is actually a little bit of anti-post relevance to that race, isn't there? Because the winner, Black Thunder, ridden by the very accomplished Hunter Chase pilot, Sam Whaley-Cohen, got the job done. And I think you guys, I can hear your fingers frantically tapping around the keyboard. I think he enters the equation, Nick, doesn't he?
He does. He's somewhere in the mix. Although, you know, if On the Fringe is as good as he was been for the last 2 years, I think they're all kind of playing catch up in that market, really. Yeah, I think so.
You're very much as a son of the soil and an owner of, you know, tweed underpants and all sorts of Barber endorsed clothing. Do you keep a close eye on the Hunter Chase scene?
Yeah, I love Hunter Chases. Barring, you know, what happened yesterday. Obviously, there's a difference in riding styles.
Isn't that all part of the fun, though?
Yeah, it is, and I used to go to a lot of point-to-points at weekends as well. I don't get the chance to do it much these days. I haven't managed to tempt the wife to a frozen
raw
field.
food cooking courses.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so I've had to, you know, cut short my pointing activities. But yeah, no, I love all that side of the game.
Do you ever go over to a point-to-point, Brendan?
No, I've never been to a point-to-point.
You've never been to one?
No,
I'm absolutely astonished. I would have been about 16 to 1.
Yeah, I'd actually, now that you mention it, it is strange. I don't know why.
I mean, your father's a trainer, you're from a rich horse heritage, and you've never been to a point-to-point.
No, I must make it my business to rectify that, actually.
That's even more amazing than Paul Keeley never having owned a pair of jeans.
Yeah, or only knowing one song. He's a complex character.
Bat out of hell, that's right. Yeah. Did we get a price for Black Thunder, Tom?
After all that, he's not in it.
Oh, isn't he?
No.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Oh, is there qualifying issues? There are qualifying issues for the Hunter Chase, aren't there?
Yeah, the Irish, I think, struggle. It's if you're placed in a graded race in the last 12 months, you can't run in a Hunter Chase in the UK, but you're okay in Ireland.
Okay. Anything else anyone saw on Sunday that they'd like to tell our listeners about? Brendan, I suppose you were best placed, haven't been at Fairy House?
Yes, well, Ballyusheen, he put in a faultless round of jumping and a Bulger. He was quite a highly regarded horse, so he might be one for the spring festivals. The trainer thinks he'd be better on better ground, and he is a very good mover. And there was a horse in the bumper. I don't think it was the strongest bumper in the world, but on debut, Paloma Blue cost 160,000, and you could see where the money went. He's a very, very good looking horse, and he won understandably green on debut. But he won. And also, I should mention, you were giving a shout out to Graham Rodway and quite rightly putting up the winners, but we should give a shout out to David Jennings, who predicted this Caelan Owens run in the Dan Moore Chase. He said, this is a big price pre-race, but it will definitely trade shorter in the run. And it did, to the tune of 1.4, before doing exactly what David says and not finding anything off the bridle, finishing fourth. But still, as a back to lay shout, it was one for the ages.
That's a beauty. We've looked back, let's look forward.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP5 in all races at one meeting today. And at one meeting every day this month. Max £25 per race, not available in shops. 18 plus, gambleaware.co.uk.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Weekend Review Postcast with me, Bruce Millington, Nick Watts, independent, what are we calling you? Independent racing expert.
That's the one.
Brendan Duke,
yeah.
And Paddy Power's Tom Nugent. Okay, tomorrow we've got another Cheltenham anti-post postcast, and we're going to focus on the Sunbet Stayers Hurdle. I'm not sure who's on the team for that. We got Mr. Siegel, Jack. We got Mr. Siegel, excellent stuff. Ed Quigley, Long Shot Ted. Me, I'm Frank Hickey. Excellent. Well, that's the team. Okay, well that gives you three judges a clear run at the Stayers Hurdle. Before we do that, Tom furnishes us with the latest prices.
Yeah, so the non-runner no bet betting with Paddy Power now is, you know what I mean, Harry, the 2-1 favourite for the Stayers. Faheen 7-2, Vroom Vroom Mag 4s, Nichols Canyon 7-1, Annie Power 8-1, Jeski 10s, Ballyoptic 12s alongside Clondalk Warrior, Apples Jade, and the new one, and it's 14-1 bar.
Okay, Nick Watts, we'll start with you. What's your view of the Stayers?
Yeah, I've been banging on about Jeski all season. I think we're finally going to see his unveiling. I think next weekend, possibly at Navan. I think that's what the talk was. Yeah, I think he's the value, definitely. You know, when we last saw him, he went up to 3 miles and he won nicely, beat Hurricane Fly at Punchestown. So he gets a longer trip, fine. I just really hope, I think there's 2 prep races they're talking about. They're talking about going to Gowran as well next month. They're over 2 miles. So I really hope if he doesn't win those, they think about putting him back in the champion hurdle. He wouldn't win it. Best case scenario for him, if he did run in that race, would be finishing 3rd or 4th. But he's an 8-time Grade 1 winner who, last time we saw him, looked well suited by the step-up in trip. He could make a massive mark in this race. So I've got no doubt he's a more classy type than you know what I mean, Harry. And with so much uncertainty over the Mullins runners as well, Vroom Vroom was quoted there, Annie Power was quoted in there, Faheen was quoted in there as well. Only one of those 3 would possibly run. So there's still some mileage in his price. I think he's got a good chance against, you know, horses like Ballyoptic, who just looks a bit slow to me.
Okay, this is the biggest show of Postcast loyalty since Dave Jennings and Kitten rocked this. Jeski and Nick Watts. Who's your idea of the winner, Brendan?
It's hard to get away from a horse who just keeps winning. I mean, you know what I mean, Harry. It was very interesting at the start of the year. I remember Paul Keeley saying he'd been dropped £3 for winning the Grade 1, and I liked it, and he liked it as well. It was showing a bit of initiative from the handicappers. Now, they were wrong, but it didn't look like that was much of an Albert Bartlett, and he's really the only horse who's come out of it. But it's so hard to crib a horse who keeps winning, and I'm not going to crib him, but he's 2-1. I don't think he's going to be any shorter than 2-1 today, because I think Vroom Vroom will run. And if Vroom Vroom runs, I'll inevitably back her.
You will,
although I think it's the wrong trip for her. She was just... I've never seen her as keen as she was in
What makes you think she'll run, Brendan?
Because I have a theory that Annie Power is going to run in the mares and Faheen will run in the champion hurdle. So that only leaves... Well,
it doesn't. She could run in about 13 races.
Well, that's true. She could run in the Ryanair, which is the race she should be running in, but she hasn't run over fences for 18 months now.
Yeah.
So I thought she'd run anyway, but I hope you're right, and she does run in the Ryanair.
Is your love for Vroom Vroom Mag diminished at all by the last run?
No, I think it's possible I overrated her, but. Basically, she should have won in Fairy House, and Apples Jade is a good mare who got an exceptional ride. We should send out some love to the boy Cooper. He doesn't get it very often. He nicked that race, so she should have won that. So she should still technically be unbeaten. But I just think that I've never seen her as keen the last day. That's my worry, that in the slower tempo of these races, she's just going to pull a little bit too hard and won't get home. Plus she wants fences. This is the thing. She's one of the best jumpers in training. If anyone can rack their brains to remember 18 months ago, the mare wants to jump fences. She'd rag up on the Ryanair. But anyway.
What's the clue with Annie Power on the mares?
Well, the clue with Annie Power on the mares is the most accurate judge I know in predicting Mullins patterns told me that that's the plan. So, and then I was listening to Paddy Power on your Monday review last week, and it was like scales fell from my eyes, because he said, I think she's going to run in the mares, and the narrative, because that's what I was struggling with. How are they going to sell this to Joe Public? Because even by the standard of that crew, it's some move to go from a champion hurdle to a mares hurdle, but they're going to do what they did with Vautour. Because when excuse me, when the Cheltenham preview circuits will be starting up now, and the great cliches about Cheltenham are it's the Olympics of horse racing, and you have to be 100/110% fit and well to go there. Except last year with Vautour, because they wanted to run him in the Ryanair. So the day before the race, they say, well, he's only 90% fit, so we're going to go for the easier option.
Right, okay.
And that's how they're going to sell it.
And is this also linked to the fact that Faheen is going so well that they think he needs to run in the Champion rather than maybe step him up to 3 miles?
I think it's just basically, it's Mullins. He just has this incredible... He has owners in his thrall. You see, what I don't understand is, obviously, from Willie Mullins' point of view, run any in the mare's hurdle, because it's an old maxim, keep yourself in the best company and your horse is in the worst. So he just wants to win as many races as he can. But what I don't understand is from the perspective of the owners, because I always think of owners as rich punters. Like, we're punters, so we can't afford to buy horses, PAYE drones, whatever. But we can, so we rent them while they're running. We have a bet on them, effectively renting them. But if you've got squillions, you decide, there's no point me betting anymore because I have so much money, so I'll own a few horses. I'll get sport out of that. Brilliant. So I don't understand why Rich Ritchie isn't like every punter and going, geez, I wonder who'd win between Faheen and Annie Power.
Yeah, no, fair shout.
But he doesn't. Willie Mullins, see, he just does whatever Willie wants.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's going to happen anyway.
Okay, so Nick is going jet ski. You're going vroom vroom. Tom, who are you going to go for in the world? God, the stayers. Do you know, I said to our chief sub the other day, I said, I bet someone slips in the world hurdle between now and then, and I've just gone and done it.
I'd take a flyer Ballyoptic each way at 12s. Ran a good race in behind. I don't think he'd beat, you know what I mean, Harry, but to hit the frame, he's a decent price.
Ed Quigley was going on about Ballyoptic all summer, and I've seen absolutely nothing from this horse to make me think he's going to win the Stayers. But there was someone mentioned over the weekend that you know what I mean, Harry, took a little drift on the old machine there, Nick. You get that, don't you? Flickers and
the room machine this time of year.
There's so little money in there that you can cause one of those things with a very small amount of money, can't you? Right, let's look ahead to the weekend then. The highlight is the Clarence House at Ascot, and there's also some good fare on Sunday at Leopardstown. Give us a horse that you're looking forward to seeing run this weekend, Nick Watts.
Armad, if he runs in the Clarence House, I think he's got a decent shout of possibly reversing the form under. So he did everything wrong at Sandown, and his jumping kind of went to pot a little bit in the middle of the race. But he still finished very strongly. If he just looked at, from the last fence and looked towards the finish, he was the kind of eye catcher, if you like. So I wouldn't rule him out of winning that race. And I'm not actually going to go to the weekend. There's a really good meeting at Turler's on Thursday with the Kinloch Bray, which Don Cossack has won for the last 2 years. Always goes to a good horse. And Sub-Lieutenant makes his kind of return after a mini break, finished close third behind Jack Adam and Outlander last time out, which was a really good run. So I'd like to see him kind of carry on, from where he left off. He's on an upward curve, so I'd be hopeful he can carry on.
Excellent. I always love a bit of Kinloch Bray. It lights up an otherwise Monday midweek programme, doesn't it? Brendan, looking ahead to the weekend, or indeed Thurles, or beautifully pronounced Turles by Nick Watts. Anything you've got your eye on?
Well, Golden Spear, my old friend from Ascot, is back out on Sunday. Now, he was a little bit disappointing in Ascot, but I'm
just given a lot to do there, wasn't he?
Well, I don't know. It was in the fog. I thought he was given the ride I expected him to be given. You thought he was a bit far back.
I don't know. I think I don't know whether the fog did anything weird to tactics, but they were so strung out from so far out, weren't they? It was very peculiar.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm going to give him another chance, but obviously the Heartbreak City is outrageously well handicapped, and so he'd be hard to beat. But I'd say there'd be 5 places on that race, Tom, wouldn't there?
I wouldn't know just yet.
Yeah, but I guess there will be. So I'll probably chance him each way.
Heartbreak City each way.
Oh, Golden Spear each way.
Oh, Golden Spear. Sorry, yeah. Okay, and Tom, anything from you for the weekend?
I'm off down to Thurles on Thursday, actually. I'm looking forward to seeing. There's a good Mayor's Novice Chase down there, and Benny Dedew is entered at the moment for Willie. She was all the rage there when she won the last day. And the Hunter's Chase in Thurles is an absolute belter. Fox Rock Salsify on his own. Wow. First Lieutenant. tenant. There's some cracking horses in there on his own now under new ownership as well. So looking forward to that. And on Saturday, Leopardstown in the same race Brendan was talking about there. Looking forward to Mike back after rain each way for JP.
Okay, I think that's the horse. Is that the horse that
Frank
the Tank's been following? Yeah. So this could be the day for after rain. Where is Thurles?
Thurles is in Tipperary, South Tipperary. The home of hurling, or so they say.
Really?
Yeah, well.
Producer Jack's giving that the big thumbs down. Who's your team, Jack, on the hurling front? Kilkenny. Okay, fair enough. So how long would that take you from Dublin? A couple of hours?
It's a long way. It's a long way.
An hour and 40.
Very good. Hour and 40. Excellent. So when
that
you
penny only dropped just there, Brendan.
Now that you're not particularly tied up with 40 hours a week of odds compiling, Brendan, would you get yourself down there?
Down to Thurles, I probably won't. If someone rings and wants some company, I might go. But I probably won't.
There you go.
I didn't even plan on going racing this weekend, and someone rang both days, and I ended up going. So,
if anyone is driving down to Thurles and wants the company of the magnificent Brendan Duke, then give them a shout. Okay, chaps, thank you very much indeed. Do join us tomorrow for a more in-depth look at the stayers, and then we're back on Friday, including the return of the fresh holidayed Paul Keeley for our weekend postcast.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.